Kal Kadosh. Erev Tov. Kinyan Masechta. Masechet Taanit. Het Amud Aleph. Yeah? Het Amud Aleph. We are, I would say, 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 lines down. Yeah? 9 lines down when it gets wide. So you take when it gets wide, look 9 lines down. Yeah. And we were just speaking about that the reason why rain comes down is for people that have emunah. What is emunah? What is emunah? Trust, belief in God. Trust in Hashem.
Faith.
Okay? Faith in Hashem. Ve'amar Rabbi Ami. So now we're starting today's daf. Ve'amar Rabbi Ami. Says Rabbi Ami. Bo ur'e kama gedolim ba'ale amanah. Look how great, right, is the greatness of ne'emanut. Look how great it is. Why? Minayin, from where do we learn it from? Michulda ubor. From the weasel and from the pit. Yeah? From the pit. Yeah? Uma hama'amin bechulda ubor. If right now we're talking about the chulda and the bor, that these are edim, that they're trustworthy witnesses, kacha ma'amin ba'kadosh baruch hu. So if you believe in God, alachat kama v'chama, and all the more so. Yeah, what exactly are we referring to from the chulda and the bor? So the truth is, it does not actually say it in the Gemara. Rashi brings it down, right? But basically, the story is that remember that the chulda is a weasel. The bor, right? They basically killed two children of a person because he was not mekayem avtachato. He didn't prove to his words. What does that mean? There was one bachur that he went and he told the betula he's going to marry her. So you imagine, you have a guy, he comes and he tells, right? Yeah, he went and he tells the girl, I'm going to get married to you. So she says, what's the proof? How do you know? Yeah, right now you say that you love me, you want to get married to me. What's the proof? So he comes and he says, I have two witnesses. The boar, right, that was right beside them. There was a pit, and the weasel, right? The weasel was going by. Just look, the boar and the weasel, the pit and the weasel, those are the main witnesses. Afterwards, what happened is the guy continued in life, right? He went, he started working, this, that. All of a sudden, what does he do? He gets married. Yeah, but he doesn't get married to the other girl. He got married to somebody else. Yeah, so what happened? The wife has 2 children, right? One child, after a while, they start growing up, falls into a pit. The second child, right, the weasel comes and bites him and kills him. The wife comes and she tells the husband, listen, there's something here. In a sense, listen, one child, fine. 2 children, and so weird. Pit, weasel. There's something here. All of a sudden, he remembers the story. So he comes and he tells her, right, the story, what happened. Yeah? He tells her the story. So there's a whole thing over there exactly, right? That, that he basically, he went against his words. So says the Gemara here, if right now the weasel and the boar are so trustworthy in this essence, so to imagine HaKadosh Baruch Hu, right, that if you make HaKadosh Baruch Hu like an ed, like a witness, right? So therefore imagine there's no greater chizuk than this. Ya lacha kama v'chama. Okay, makes sense, no? Beautiful story. Also, the thought actually says, right, that really what happened is that after the wife found out the story, after she found out the story, right, she went and she told him, so fine, so go take her. So what did he do? He went, he wrote her a get, and then he went and he got married to the original wife. That was Tosafot. Listen to the words, Dvarim HaKadoshim Shel Chaim Shmulevitz. The Sichot Musar. We're learning Musar now. Yeah, listen carefully. Amar Rabbi Hama Baruch Hanina. Says Rabbi Chama Baruch Hanina, Gadol Yom HaGeshamim K'yom Shenim Shomayim Va'aretz. We already said in Taanit Zayin Mubet that look how great it is, the Geshamim, just like the day of creation of the world. Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Gadol Yom HaGeshamim K'yom Kibbutz Galuyot, just like it's going to be when all the Galuyot are going to come together. Shneimar, Shuva Hashem et Shivitenu Kafi Ki Manegev. Amar Rabbi Yahu, Gadol Yom HaGeshamim et Chiyat HaMetim. But Techiyat HaMetim is for Sadikim. Geshamim is whether for tzaddikim and rashaim, and this argues on Yosef. It says of Yosef, since it's equal to Tchiyat HaMetim, they put it in the same bracha. Amar Rabbi Yehuda, Gadol Geshamim K'yom Shenitna Bo Torah. It's the same as Matan Torah, or even more than Matan Torah. Okay, fine. Me'achar shekol gdolai ma'alat Geshamim. If you're going to tell me right now the Geshamim is so great that they're coming and they're saying that they're mamash chashuvim v'nichbadim more than the Bria, Shamayim va'aretz, Kibbutz Galuyot, bring everybody together, Tchiyat HaMetim. And even more, he comes and he says, Matan Torah. For sure, we have to understand exactly what's the Geshamim now, right? What zechut is coming that the Geshamim, the rain, is so important now? So Amru Chazal, Amar Rabbi Ami, Ena Geshamim v'shvil Baalei Amana. Says because of Baalei Emunah, u'biur aniyam Baalei Amana. The Gemara says Masechet Shabbat, Vaya emunecha aritecha emunat ze seder zraim. U'piresh betosfot Hashem Yerushalmi. Shema'amin bechai ha'olamim v'zoreah. What does that mean? Vaya emunat itecha. Emunah means that you believe in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that it's Baruch Chai ha'olamim, right? That's right. V'zoreah, and you plant. Which means that you have emunah in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that he's going to be morid geshamim. He's going to bring the rain. And therefore he plants. If you don't believe that God is going to make it rain, you would never plant. Because maybe it's not going to rain, and then you planted it, and everything went to waste. So therefore, because of Baalei Emunah, it comes and it starts raining. So now we understand the explanation of why? And look at Rashi and Tosfot. They were talking about the Bachur Echad, that he gave his emunah naftacha to a girl, right, that he should get married to her. So she comes and she says, who's going to testify? So there was the Chulda and Bor. Says the Bachur, what? The pit and the Chulda. All of a sudden, he went against it. And the two children died. So the explanation is, which doesn't make sense. Nireh lomar, listen carefully. It appears like this. Shal yedeh emunato bechulda ubor, nitan bahem koach lishmor al kiyum hadavar hayotze mipiv. When he went and he said, who's my witnesses that I'm going to fulfill my words? What did he say? The pit and the weasel. The second that he said, he's putting his emunah in the pit, in the weasel, right? What's happening? He's giving them the koach, the strength, to watch over his words. And if he's going to go against his avtacha, he's going to go against his words, they pay him back. The pit will pay him back. The weasel will pay him back. And therefore, Chazal come and they say, Hama'amim ba'akadosh baruch hu. Yeah, if somebody's going to, right, come and believe in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, halacha kama v'chama. So even more so, שאם הוא מאמין ובוטח בהקדוש ברוך הוא, לא כל שכן, שעל ידי הנהגתו, נותן כוח כביכול לנהוג עמו כמידת הקדוש. Which means this, when we come and we have more emunah in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, כביכול, it's as if that we're giving HaKadosh Baruch Hu koach. It's like we're giving him the strength. Because if through our words, this guy came and he gave strength to the weasel and to the pit, because he put his emunah in them, and therefore he gave them the koach, the power to come and to wash over his words. And if Chas Shalom he went against his own words, they will come and exact retribution against him. So then that's the explanation. Now we understand that the Geshamim come because of the rain. Because when we have emunah bitachon HaKadosh Baruch Hu that he's going to bring down rain, it is going to rain because of our emunah in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And now we understand another Gemara. The Gemara Masechet Chulin, a famous Gemara. Pei Daled Amud Bet, 84b, says Darash Rabbi Avira. Rabbi Avira was Doresh, expounded. Le'olam yochal adam v'yishteh pachot mima sheyesh lo. When you're going to eat, right, don't be Moroccan. What does that mean? Don't eat with your eyes. Moroccans like to eat with their eyes.
It's everything.
Right? Everything big quantities. He says you should eat and drink with less than what you should have. Meaning, if you have $100, don't spend 120 on food. You have to eat and drink with less than what your ability is. But your clothing has to be according to your yeah. But the clothing according to your level. So you're very, very rich. You need the Hugo Boss. You need the. You're not gonna. Why? The same level of what you have. The food with less than what you have. The clothing with the same amount of what you have. ויכבד אשתו ובניו יותר ממה שיש לו. But you have to give to your wife and children more than what you can. Yeah? Why? שהם תלויים בו, because the wife and children are dependent upon you. And you are dependent. What does that mean now? בניו תלויים בו. That your children are dependent upon you. He comes and he says, Al Pia Yesod Anal, because since they are going to be Somech al Shulchano, and they depend on their parents, through their emunah, they are giving koach. Through their emunah, they're giving strength to the parents to give them parnasah. Because that's why they come and they say, Shechabdem yoter mima sheyesh lo, ulmala miyichoto. Because be'emet en gvul leyichulto. There's no limits, there's no borders, right? But according to the emunah that they have, they will actually get it. And where do you have it? Where do you see it? Listen carefully. He comes and he says, this is hinted in the Torah. It says, where is it hinted? Bamidbar. Right? In Bamidbar it says, Hanochi hariti et kol hamazeh imiliti uktomar se'u bechekecha kasher yisa omenu tinunek. Right? Ma'el li basar et l'chol hamazeh. Moshe Rabbeinu comes and he tells HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you want to give them meat? Did I give birth to them? That I'm going to come and I'm going to give them meat? Where am I going to bring meat for all the people? What does it mean that he now says, Shanochi hariti, did I give birth to them? He says, you learn from here, if he would have given birth to them, and since the children are being somech on their parents, he would have been able to bring all the meat in the world for them. Because a person that through the emunah of the children, they give him the strength to come and to give him the parnasah. And that's what the Sforno comes and he says, right? The father could come and he could have his children. Because they know that he loves them so much, he'll try everything for them. But somebody that knows that he's not sure, what, does my father really love me? So they start thinking, so then, how am I going to have the meat? it's not going to be there. They say, why? He's not sure. That's the explanation. And that's why he says, why is it that it's so difficult to parnasah a human being like Yamsuf? He says, what? Is it difficult for HaKadosh Baruch Hu? What's difficult for HaKadosh Baruch Hu? Hey, it's difficult parnasah like Kriyat Yamsuf. What he says? He says, no. Kriyat Yamsuf was only because of the emunah. And that's what they say. Acherim omrim, kedai wa emunah sheminu bi, it's enough the emunah that I'm going to do Kriyat Yamsuf. They didn't say to Moshe Rabbeinu, how are we going to all of a sudden, how are we going to do? They went and they just jumped in. So therefore they come and they say, just like the changing of nature in Kriyat Yamsuf was dependent upon the emunah and bitachon HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and because of that HaKadosh Baruch Hu came and he split the sea, so too mezonotav shel Adam is talui bebitachon and HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and according to the bitachon and HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that's how HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to give us all the shefa. And just like we explained that Ena Geshamim Yordim El Bishvil Baalei Amana, and then he continues going. There's tons, mamash beautiful sichot musar. Everything's musar coming and explaining it. So according, this is Rav Chaim Shmulevitz. It's called sichot musar. Sichot musar. Yeah, so it's an incredible sefer, right? Rav Chaim Shmulevitz, he was a shiva of Mir. Before Rav Nassan Tzvi Finkel, he was a shiva of Mir. Right, the Mir Yeshiva. Everyone knows the Mir Yeshiva. Mir. Yeah. Now it says the Gemara, Amar Rabbi Yohanan. Says Rabbi Yohanan, Kol hamatzdik et atzmo milemata, a person that comes and he prepares himself with his actions that he's going to be a tzaddik down here below, right? That's matzdik, right? Nashon tzaddik milemata, from down below. Matzdikin alav adim milmala. Yeah, he's going to be matzdik the din up above. What does that mean exactly? That means that in Shamayim, they're going to come and they're going to be very, very precise, very meticulous with him. right? Why? Because it's going to be in order to atone for his sins in this world and not to need a kapara in the next world. Meaning if a person is already a tzaddik here, he's going to be taken into account every single little tiny thing. Why? Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants to give him Gan Eden. So what does he do? He does a sin. It's not really a big sin. That's why they say, right? That's why they say that anybody that says that David HaMelech sinned, that, Moshe Rabbi, all these people, they sin, and all to it's a mistake. Why? Because mamash, their sin was nothing, right? It was completely nothing. But what happens is because they were such tzaddikim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants to give them, right, Olam Haba, so he makes sure to be very, very meticulous. Now, how do you see this? Shneimar, it says in the Pasuk. The Pasuk says, Emet me'eretz titzmach, v'tzedek mishamayim nishkaf. What does it mean? Since it doesn't say the Pasuk tzedakah, it doesn't say tzedakah, it says tzedek. What is tzedek? Midat adin. Right? So he comes and he says, Emet me'eretz titzmach. What does that mean? A person that's noheg in the land. Right? Be'emet u'mitzedakah, with truthfulness. And with tzedakot, tzedek mishamayim nishkaf. So he will have tzedek. What does that mean? That from the shamayim they're going to come and they're going to be mashkif, right? Nishkaf, right? Ashkif amimon kochecha. They're going to pay attention, right? From what? With the tzedek, with midat adin. So the person, so somebody once says, yeah, but Rabbi, so what do I want to do? What do I want to become better? The better that you become, the more trechas you get. You understand? The opposite. You want to become closer. So you want those trechas. You want the yeah. When was the last time you went and you saw somebody that says, give me harder, right? That's what they come and they say. That's a beautiful mashal that they say towards Yamim Noraim. Right? There was a person that what happened is that he was having a lot of suffering. So he went and he started crying to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, take away all the suffering. So what happened was HaKadosh Baruch Hu on Rosh Hashanah, he went and he showed him a dream. What was the dream? That he passed away. And all of a sudden he gets to Shamayim. They say, okay, fine. Let's see all the mitzvot. They come, they bring all the mitzvot. Okay, fine. They say, okay, fine. So now he comes, he says, nice weight on the mitzvot. Listen, every single morning shachrit, every single mincha and arbit, yeah, silichot, everything, you understand? Everything, always there. Yeah? Very good. So what happened was, is immediately, what? Even, no, the next, double weight, yeah? What happened was, is that all of a sudden they say, okay, fine, bring on the avirot. And now he all of a sudden, he comes and he sees, and they start coming. He starts looking, when are they going to finish? They continue coming. He comes, he looks, his face becomes white. Why? The avirot continue coming. He comes and he sees it because he's looking, he's trembling. He doesn't know what to do. All of a sudden, HaKadosh Baruch Hu comes and he says, is there anything else? Yeah. He received a lot of yisurim. He had a lot of suffering. A lot of suffering. Come. They came, they took the suffering, and all the suffering that he had, they started taking off the avirot. They took off the avirot. What happened? When they finished, right, they said, okay, is there any more suffering? He said, no. He said, no, bring them on. He woke up in the middle of a dream. What was he saying? Bring them on. He was complaining that he didn't want any suffering. He was afterwards screaming, he wanted the suffering, but he knew that it was actually sapara. So that a person should never think to himself, no, don't worry about it. No, that was actually what's going to save him. So therefore, it's very important to realize that the more that you're going to be a tzaddik min hama'ala, right? What does that mean? Down here below, you're going to be precise with you. You're going to be very meticulous, but it's actually very good, because that's actually for our best.